Hello and welcome to Forbes India presents Business Lodestones, where we explore the journeys of business leaders shaping the future. Today, we are diving into the fast-paced world of Fintech. Joining us is Pramod Ganji, founder and CEO of Zrika, a cutting-edge software company that's redefining the digital finance space. And IIM Ahmedabad alumnus, Pramod, is known for his drive and innovation and has been recognized with several awards for excellence in the Fintech space. Pramod, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Give us a little bit of a background, Pramod, of what you've done in the last couple of decades as a professional and before that, and how did you choose now to quit everything and start this outfit?
I started my entrepreneurial journey somewhere last year. Before that, I had been in the corporate space for more than 2 decades. I have had a very strong foundation, and post which I realized that I can do actually more now. And earlier, initially when I started off, the initial 5 years was full of hustle. I was doing anything and everything that came across me. So I was doing door-to-door sales, shop-to-shop sales. I was selling anything under the sun, right, from insurance policies to postpaid cards. I also have a stint where I was working for a traveling company also. So that gave me a complete exposure to sales across various diverse segments. So it was in the year 2010 when I pivoted into the fintech space, and I've been a proud member of this ecosystem ever since then. For almost 14 years, I was working for one of the fintech aggregators, and I've also got an opportunity to serve NPCI, which is for one of their products called as RuPay. So that was one of the experience where I was able to get more exposure on the entire payments platform in the country. I was able to understand how the financial infrastructure in the country operates.
Right.
I possess a MBA degree in marketing. I am a proud alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad. On the professional side, I'm very, very passionate about my domain, which is sales, business development, and strategic partnership. It is not something that I've actually stumbled upon. It is something that I've intentionally chosen, because as a personality, I'm very, very excited about meeting people, understanding their psychology, and also trying to learn from every individual that I meet. On the outside work, on the personal side, I'm quite passionate about fitness. I like going to the gym on a regular basis. I try to maintain a very clean diet, and I'm also inclined towards getting spiritual growth. So overall, that is all about me. So as a human, I want to basically set up an example. Okay, I want to actually display with examples. I want to basically demonstrate more than delegating things, and I want to inspire anyone across me. I mean, be it my personal friends or maybe professionally. I want people to lead a very, very healthy life and also be very spiritually inclined towards their lifestyle.
How did you decide that, okay, let me quit my day job? And while you said you liked a hustle, you sold everything from whatever it is that you said you did. When did that idea come where you said, okay, this is the time I would like to start Zrika? And how did you go about those initial few weeks?
Honestly, this transition from being an employee to become an entrepreneur was not quite dramatic. It was in fact out of the frustration that I was actually seeing around the corporate world in terms of the solutions that were available in the market. So for one of the companies that I was working for, I had created a business unit from scratch, which was banking alliances, where from zero that business was scaled up to 1.75 lakh crore. Only by working closely with banks. So we had cracked almost 30 banks during that 8 years of stint that I was handling banking alliances from scratch. And even after doing so much, there was still a lot of potential in terms of what the banks really wanted. Every aggregator in the space was building something that they felt was right for the banks, instead of listening to what the banks were wanting or maybe discussing with them. They were just building what they felt was right for the banks, and in the back end, the banks were still struggling with their manual processes, with their compliance issues, with their legacy systems, etc. So that is when I felt that I will be able to build something only if I have a free hand. And that was a day when I thought that I should actually step into a new position and try to take some charge and try to build something of my own. I had this very strong sense of feeling that I could do it, and then I had some good mentors who also supported me, and at the same time some deeper understanding of what the banks really want. With that thing in mind, I decided to finally start something of my own.
And what was that unmet need that you were trying to, you said you were frustrated with
Yes.
certain things that the banks would do and that you would not get your head around. And usually in the fintech space, which is not really very old,
Right.
it's still, it must be an adolescent at
Right.
best. It's changing so rapidly. And there have been cases where, you know, banks would charge a hefty amount to customers to
Right.
wire money, let's say from a country like X to India, the repatriation ones, and then you've got companies like TransferWise and many others
Right.
who figured out a different way of doing it at a fraction of the cost.
Right.
Now, what is it that your vision was, that this is the need that the banks haven't been able to crack yet from the
Right.
consumer standpoint, and what is it that you brought to the table, and that's the idea that you went with?
So it was not just from the consumer standpoint, but also from the regulatory requirement, to be very honest. So during all my interactions with all the banking professionals, my friends in the banking systems, what we've realized is that the consumers are becoming much more aware. They are becoming much more tech savvy. But on the other side, the banks, though they have an aspiration to move at that pace, but because of their internal compliances, their stringent policies, their legacy systems, they are not able to extend what the consumers are actually expecting.
Right.
And on the other side, the Reserve Bank of India, which is actually governing a lot of things in the fintech space, they also became much smarter, faster, and they also have become a very tech-oriented entity, a regulator. And it was becoming very difficult for them to keep pace with what the regulators were expecting from them in terms of upgrading the systems, or maybe adhering to certain policies in terms of data protection, or maybe how the transaction processing needs to be processed, how the data needs to flow during the transaction, etc. And that is where I felt that we could actually come in as one of the partners for all the banking fraternity. We will ensure that we work in a very agile mode and extend all of this solution, not just in a very compliant way, but also in a very faster way. Because what we've realized is, in the banking space, delay is not just costing them money, it is also costing them trust. If they are not compliant, if they are not able to extend the kind of solution that their consumers or the regulators are expecting, they will kind of lose a lot, which is beyond money.
And you talked about agility, speed. What kind of a team do you think has it in itself to make that happen? On one hand, you've got banks, old school, bureaucratic, and
Right.
here you are going to be partnering with them to be the catalyst.
Right.
So can you just describe what kind of people are on the team? What kind of talent do you seek? And sometimes, coming back to your original point of frustration, does it get frustrating that basic things take that much longer and you need to crack those?
So as far as the team building process is concerned, I was very clear from day one. So in the culture in which I've actually grown professionally, we've always worked with fresh talents, which means that someone straight out of college and looking for an opportunity, that's the time when they're actually very aggressive in terms of what they really want to achieve.
Right.
And what they want to prove to the world. So we have a mix, a combination of very limited people on the top who may be in their 40s, but we have a very young and dynamic team who has all the energies in the world to actually invest it in the right place. So what we've done is we've ensured that there's a mentor that we have assigned to every individual who's working on certain projects, and that is how we are actually managing the entire team. When it comes to the bank side also, the entire perspective of the banks have also changed over a period of time. It's not that they don't want to do things or they don't want to listen. Now we have reached a stage where every banker, you reach out to them, you tell them there's something that you're trying to solve, and that is going to make their lives easy, and that is going to add to their overall customer experience. They would give you an appointment. They would give you an opportunity to spend good amount of time to listen to what you have built. And when they find that the solution is a right fit for something that they're actually struggling with, they will also take it all the way to their senior management and ensure that it is getting implemented. So I think overall, the entire thought process within the banks have also changed. We have banks who are very open to new ideas. They are also open to suggestions, because though the bank is keeping upbeat with what the regulators are expecting, but when it comes to looking at from the tech angle, we also try to feed them with a lot of information that we have. And that is how we are collaborating together and trying to build something which is going to eventually help the end consumer, the merchant community, the banks. It is also going to keep the regulators also happy.
How did you come up with the name Zrika? It's a bit of a unique name. Tell us a bit about that.
So this name actually is very close to me. This name has a cultural meaning as well as a future focus idea also. So Zrika was actually derived from a Sanskrit word called as Shrika, which is one of the many names of goddess Lakshmi. And goddess Lakshmi in our tradition basically represents finance and wealth. So finance is something that we are dealing with on a daily basis using tech, right? But goddess Lakshmi is not just about finance, it's also about prosperity, abundance, clarity, etc. So I always wanted to come up with a name which honors our heritage but also points towards the future. So that's how the Z came in. So Z basically stands for zoomed in intelligence, zero friction, and Zrika's commitment to the next gen payments infrastructure. So that is how the Z effect came in. So internally, when we talk about the Z effect, it is not just about building some sleek APIs or maybe very compliant model. It's about helping our banking community to achieve something which they need but at a very faster pace. So that is how overall we came up with the name called as Zrika, which is a combination of our traditional heritage as well as the Z effect that we are trying to give using AI, ML, technology, etc.
In fintech especially, how do you deal with this? When things change so rapidly, like in the semiconductor industry, unlike soaps, things change where NVIDIA's founder has sleepless nights, he says, that he needs to come up with something every second week. Now, you are in such an industry where if you are caught napping, somebody else will take over. So how do you keep yourself updated? How is it that you know what's the next thing out there that you need to equip yourself with?
It all honestly comes from the market intelligence. You always have to look at what's happening in the entire global space, not just what's happening in India. Of course, India has also achieved a lot in terms of what they have done to UPI and the way we are actually trying to inspire the other global giants also to build something in the real-time payment space. But you also have to basically keep listening to all the stakeholders who are a part of the ecosystem. Keep listening to what your consumers are expecting. Keep listening to your bankers. Keep listening to the merchant community, etc. And that is the only way in which you will be able to gauge what is it that is going to work in the near future. So, for example, some of the predictions that I feel is actually going to come true in the next 5 years is maximum payments might happen with wearable devices. Okay, we are already there. There are a lot of tap and pay devices which are there in the market by which you are able to make very seamless payments across various channels that are available today. Cards, plastic cards, for example, I feel that is actually going to go away, where it will get completely replaced by either the smart rings or maybe some other devices which is more convenient for the end consumers to actually carry. And maybe in the future when data privacy, which the DPDP Act, which we have already implemented, which already came into act, but it is going to soon be getting implemented. Once all that also comes in, then biometrics will also become one of the popular known form factors. You will also have retina scan based payments coming in. So over a period of time, as in when we are speaking to this ecosystem players, we are able to predict the future to some extent. We know what are the solutions that might get obsolete over a period of time and some of the solutions that are going to replace them over the next decade or so.
What kind of products and services are you focusing all your energies on at the moment in Zrika?
We decided that we'll come up with some 6 sort solutions. So we have Zrai, which is our UPI AI-based UPI paying solution. We also have Zriva, which is our escrow trustee-based payout solution. We have a very strong product, which is our FRM, the fraud risk management solution called as Zrai Shield, which uses a lot of AI, ML, etc. So that is a third solution. We have a Zricrest, which is our corporate card solution, which is going to be like one of its kind, where we are trying to actually replace the debit cards, the plastic cards and the metal cards with something called as an Android screen based cards. So that's basically under development at this point in time. Then we've also created a business unit by the name of called as Retech, which is basically, so this is out of our experience. So when we were talking to banks, we realized that apart from working on the larger projects, the bank also keeps coming up with smaller projects, some very merchant specific, some very use case specific. So we decided that we'll create this business unit by which we'll be able to cater to some specific requirements that they're having. Let's say if they want to build something in InsurTech or a RegTech or an AgriTech or a EduTech, we'll be able to cater that with this particular solution. And then we also have a ZRE-Switch solution, which extends a entire switch for UPI and IMPS. For all the banks who either don't have their own switch or maybe if they want to change their switch from their existing service providers. So that is how we've created all of this business units, this products category, and now we are actually focusing with those.
When it comes to culture of encouraging your team to, be innovative. These are words in textbooks, right? It's like a bullet point on a PowerPoint presentation. But how do you make sure that they spot these opportunities?
Right.
And secondly, they may fail on occasions. And how do you reward failure, or do you let them get away with it? How is that culture, and what part of you influences that culture?
When I actually decided that I will build a company, there was some cultural attributes that were always there in my mind. So I always wanted to build a company which had these three qualities. One is empathy, second is clarity, and third is a sense of urgency. So these were the very strong qualities that I always wanted to have in the company. So it basically are not just words, but these are something that I've actually lived in my life, because I'm somebody actually who grew in Chawl. I've seen my father lose his job. I had to take up a job at the age of 17. So that was a moment that actually taught me these two qualities. One is that you have to listen before you build something. And the second is that speed is paramount, because there is somebody who's dependent on you, right? So these are some of the qualities that we have inculcated at the company level, right? So for us, though it is people first policy, which means that we want to be very empathetic, but at the same time we also want to have a very, very fast growing culture in terms of the kind of solutions that we are building. So we have actually ensured that we are balancing both the sides in terms of the empathetic side of it and the speed side of it also, because we understand that if we want to have an edge in the industry, it is only possible by being empathetic, but also at the same time we have to maintain the pace that the industry ecosystem players are expecting from you.
But isn't that a tough combination? On one hand being empathetic, and on the second hand being demanding as well, and which all leaders face. That how much should we push so much so that you want something brilliant at the end of it, but that will come at a cost. And that sacrifice could be somebody has to do that little bit more, but at the same time they will take a bullet for you, proverbial, that he has my back, my boss has my back, so let me do that extra bit. How do you balance that? And also, have you seen others do it? Are there some of your role models in the business space where, okay, this is an interesting one that I can take this aspect, or what kind of books do you read? You've got the IMA badge as well. So a little bit of everything. How do you make sure you're heading in that direction where empathy in one hand and second delivering killer products, which is going to take some doing?
All of this actually is from a lot of mentors that I actually worked with in the past. So I've had leaders who have actually displayed the similar kind of an attitude. What I've learned from my past and from the mentors is that there are two things that you need to do. One is that you have to trust your resources, okay? And second is, while you're trusting them, you also have to give them the ability to have a free hand, okay? Stop doing micromanagement. Stop telling them what they need to do. So while I was actually building the team, the core team especially, when they joined me, I used to be very clear. I used to tell them that I'm a business development guy. I do sales, I do partnerships, I can do strategic alliances, but tech is your forte, or maybe HR is your forte, or maybe finance is your forte. You have to come and tell me, or maybe you have to guide me as to what do we really need to do in terms of the domains that you're representing. So that is something that we have actually done. So what I've done is I've made them the co-owners of the organization, give them a sense of confidence, give them a sense of ownership. And when you actually do that, they will proactively start doing things for you. Don't try to treat any resources as somebody who's working for you. Try to take them along with you, try to position them as one of the strongest pillars in the company, and things will happen. At the end of the day, what I've realized is people are not working for money. Not just, of course, money is the most important aspect of everybody's life, but at the end of the day, what they are expecting beyond money is the kind of respect, the kind of treatment that you give them in the corporate world, and that is all what I'm actually following. The way I am been treated by my mentors in the past, the same culture I'm actually forwarding here.
And how has the first year been so far? A little more than a year is what you said.
Yes.
How has the journey been so far? And it's fairly new.
Yes.
But generally the first few months and the year is madness in a startup. How has it been for you?
Within a year, we already have two phases. The first 8 months were spent dedicatedly on building solutions. we were completely focused on speaking to the stakeholders in the industry, talking to the experts, trying to figure out what really is the need of the hour. How in case if we are building a solution, how do we build it? What is the UI UX experience that they are expecting? What are the regulatory challenges that they are facing right now? What is it that we need to take care when we are actually building some of the solutions? So a lot of time was spent in brainstorming around what needs to be built and then building it. And then I think by the month of February, we had a couple of products which were already ready. And that is when we started approaching all our banking friends again and then telling them that we already have a very strong product. And fortunately, by now we already have good support from some of the bankers like NSDL Bank or Unity Bank. And then we are working with IDFC Bank, etc., etc. So there are some good banks who have actually come on board, and they are already using some of the other services that we are offering.
What are a couple of things that are your immediate priorities that in the next 6 months to a year or 2 years, this is what I'd like Zrika to be?
Yes, we are actually building for the present, but we are also keeping the future in mind. So that's something that we've already kept in mind. And what we've also realized is infrastructure and the front end is something that is going to define the future of the entire ecosystem completely. Because the consumers are becoming very smart, right? They are expecting the banks also to extend fintech level experiences, right? So it's not just about your taking care of the compliances, but your UI UX also has to be evolved. On the other end, regulators are also becoming very smart, right? So in some of my interactions, I've seen some very sharp tech guys being a part of the regulators team, and they exactly know what needs to be done. I mean, you can't be rubbing them the wrong way. You cannot be just trying to say something and do something. And that is the whole reason why I think consciously, subconsciously, we have also ensured that we are not just focused on building a very impressive UI or maybe building something very sleek APIs, but we are also keeping the compliance, the regulatory requirements, all of that in mind and building the solutions for the future.
Thank you so much, Pramod, for your time on this one.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of this edition of Forbes India Presents Business Lodestones. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, goodbye.